FBI releases final footage of Gene Hackman at home. What it reveals is unbelievable. The FBI has just unveiled the last known footage of legendary actor Gene Hackman inside his home before his passing. This shocking video might contain hidden clues about his final moments, leaving investigators searching for answers. What really happened in his last hours? Stay with us as we break down this astonishing discovery and uncover what it could mean. Gene Hackman's final days, a life in transition. Gene Hackman was never one to seek the spotlight in his later years. After retiring from Hollywood, he built a quiet life in New Mexico with his wife, Betsy Arakawa. But in the months leading up to his passing, subtle changes in his behavior became evident to those closest to him. For years, Hackman maintained an active lifestyle, often seen biking through his neighborhood. It was a daily routine that kept him fit and free. But about a year before his passing, something changed. He stopped going on those rides. Close friends, including Daniel and Barbara Lenahan, noticed the shift. At first, it was subtle, but over time, it became clear. Hackman was withdrawing from the outside world. Once full of energy, he gradually became homebound, avoiding long walks and outdoor activities. Betsy, his devoted wife and closest companion, took on the role of caregiver, encouraging him to stay active. She enforced a structured routine, ensuring he followed a proper diet and took precautions against illness. Even in public outings, she took extra care, often wearing a mask to protect his health. Yet, despite these efforts, Hackman continued to withdraw. Friends saw his decline, but his daughter, Leslie Ann, painted a different picture. She insisted that her father remained active, practicing Pilates and yoga several times a week. This conflicting perspective left many wondering, was he truly deteriorating, or was he simply choosing to live his final days on his own terms? Hackman was known for his tough, no-nonsense demeanor. Even as age took its toll, he held on to that spirit. Though his body slowed down, his mind remained sharp when he wanted it to be. A life of love and solitude. One constant in Hackman's life was his deep bond with Betsy. Married since 1991, the couple was inseparable. Friends described them as one of the closest pairs they had ever seen, supporting each other in all aspects of life. Their home reflected their artistic souls. Betsy had her music studio, where she played the piano, while Hackman had his art space for painting. Their worlds intertwined effortlessly, a testament to their deep connection. Even in his final months, they remained a team. As time passed, Hackman's interactions with the outside world dwindled. He spoke less, rested more, and found solace in the stillness of home. But even in those quiet moments, he carried a presence, a man who had lived a full, extraordinary life, now embracing the peace of his final chapter. A shocking discovery. One seemingly ordinary morning in Santa Fe, New Mexico, tragedy struck. A group of maintenance workers arrived at the Hackman residence for a scheduled visit. But something felt off. The house was eerily silent, with no movement inside. Knocking repeatedly, they received no response. The home appeared undisturbed, yet an unsettling stillness filled the air. Concerned, one of the workers peered through a window, and what he saw left him in shock. Gene Hackman lay motionless near the foyer, his cane and sunglasses nearby, as if he had been walking toward the door when he suddenly collapsed. What truly happened in his final moments? Was it a natural end, or is there more to the story? Investigators continue to search for answers as the world mourns the loss of a Hollywood legend. In the bathroom, just a few feet away, Arakawa's lifeless body was found near a portable heater. The workers immediately called emergency services, and law enforcement quickly arrived at the scene. Inside the house, deputies found no signs of forced entry, struggle, or external injuries, ruling out any immediate suspicion of foul play. The home remained undisturbed, deepening the mystery surrounding their deaths. Adding to the tragedy, their Australian Kelpie, Zinna, was also found deceased in a closet. But their other two dogs, Bear and Nikita, were still alive but visibly distressed. Investigators moved swiftly to determine what had happened. Inside the home, they collected personal items that could provide clues, including cell phones, a planner, and various prescription medications. A particular focus was placed on an open pill bottle near Betsy's body, raising questions about whether a medical emergency had played a role. One of the most unsettling discoveries was that Betsy had likely passed away over a week before Gene. Signs of mummification on her body suggested a significant time gap between their deaths. This led to difficult questions. Had Hackman been unaware of her passing, or had he been too weak to seek help? No emergency calls had been made, and no notes were left behind. At 95 years old, Hackman had remained in remarkably good shape, but investigators considered the possibility of a natural medical event, such as a heart attack or stroke. The prolonged isolation following his wife's passing may have also contributed to his sudden collapse. Toxicology reports were ordered, though they would take weeks to complete. Authorities refrained from making assumptions, waiting for medical confirmation before drawing conclusions. The heartbreaking reality appeared to be that Hackman and Arakawa had passed away due to natural causes, unnoticed, in the privacy of their own home for days. As the news spread, tributes poured in for the Hollywood legend and his wife, who had spent their years together away from the public eye. Their passing marked the end of an era, leaving behind a legacy of cinematic brilliance and a quiet love story that remained until the very end. What truly happened in their final moments? The unanswered questions fueled endless theories, until the autopsy report uncovered the truth. Stay with us to find out. Different theories before final autopsy report in the wake of Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa's passing. The silence surrounding their mysterious deaths left room for endless speculation. Before the final autopsy report could provide clarity, theories circulated like wildfire, each attempting to explain the tragic end of the iconic actor and his beloved wife. One of the first theories that gained traction was the possibility of accidental poisoning. Given Hackman's age and known health issues, some speculated that he may have mistakenly taken an incorrect dosage of his medication. Investigators found prescription pills scattered near Arakawa's body, leading to early assumptions that she, too, might have suffered an overdose or a fatal reaction to medication. But medical experts quickly pointed out that it was rare for two individuals to suffer fatal overdoses simultaneously under normal circumstances. Without toxicology reports, this theory remained just that, an unverified possibility. Another theory involved environmental hazards within their home. A small gas leak was detected in the kitchen, prompting speculation about potential carbon monoxide poisoning. Although the leak was minor, some wondered if prolonged exposure could have led to disorientation, unconsciousness, or even death. But experts soon dismissed this idea, stating that the detected levels were not high enough to be lethal. The mystery deepened when authorities examined the timeline of their deaths. Hackman's pacemaker recorded its last activity on February 17, suggesting he may have passed away on that date. This led to one of the more heartbreaking theories, that Arakawa, upon discovering her husband's lifeless body, suffered a fatal shock or a medical emergency of her own. It wasn't far-fetched, considering the immense emotional distress that such a discovery could trigger, particularly for a woman who had been his devoted partner for decades. Forensic experts, including Dr. Michael Baden, weighed in with their professional assessments. Given Hackman's history of heart disease, Baden theorized that he likely suffered cardiac arrest. Arakawa's position in the home, found near a space heater and prescription medication, led to speculation that she might have attempted to assist him, only to fall and sustain fatal injuries herself. Some theorized that the emotional toll of losing her husband, coupled with a sudden medical crisis, led to her tragic fate. Others, however, suggested that there may have been an underlying health crisis affecting both of them. Some cases of undiagnosed infections, such as sepsis or foodborne illness, have been known to claim multiple lives in a household within a short period. Although no immediate evidence pointed to this, it remained one of the possibilities investigators considered before ruling anything out. Outside of medical theories, the unusual circumstances of their deaths led to speculation about external factors. With no signs of forced entry, authorities ruled out foul play early on, but the lack of struggle or distress in the scene raised more questions than answers. Some wondered if a rare condition, such as a neurological event, could have triggered simultaneous collapses. Others entertained more sensational ideas, though they lacked any factual basis. The waiting period for the official autopsy results only fueled the growing uncertainty. Those close to Hackman and Arakawa struggled to comprehend how a seemingly healthy couple could meet such a sudden and tragic fate. Though age and health conditions certainly played a role, many found it difficult to accept that both lives ended in such an eerie sequence. As news outlets and forensic experts debated the possibilities, the public was left with a sense of unease. Theories ranged from the medical to the extraordinary, but in the end, only the final report would provide the definitive answers. Until then, the mystery of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths remained one of the most puzzling cases in recent memory. But what if the real tragedy wasn't just their passing, but the haunting final moments Hackman endured, trapped in confusion, hunger, and heartbreak? Stay with us as we uncover the heartbreaking truth. Heartbreaking final moments of Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman's final days were marked by a heartbreaking reality, one shaped by Alzheimer's disease, isolation, and an unexpected tragedy that left the legendary actor lost in his own home. Experts believe that Hackman, who suffered from advanced Alzheimer's disease, was trapped in an endless loop of confusion and grief, reliving the loss of his beloved wife without ever truly understanding it. Betsy Arakawa, Hackman's wife of more than 30 years, passed away first. The cause was hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, a rare and deadly respiratory illness contracted through exposure to rodent droppings. Her sudden passing was unexpected, and with no one else in the home, Hackman was left alone to navigate a devastating reality his mind could not fully grasp. According to experts, Alzheimer's disease often leaves patients unable to process time or sequence events properly. This means Hackman may have found his wife's lifeless body, tried desperately to wake her, and then, moments later, forgotten what had happened, only to discover her again and relive the horror over and over. Dr. Catherine Pearsall, a specialist in dementia care, described it as being trapped in a reel, where each moment played on repeat, but with no understanding of the past or the future. The disorientation Alzheimer's brings can be paralyzing. Authorities found Hackman in a different part of the house, in a mudroom near the kitchen, his walking cane and sunglasses beside him. It's possible he wandered between rooms, unaware of what to do or even what had happened. Neighbors and local residents were stunned to learn that no one had checked in on him sooner. The couple had lived in the area for more than 20 years, and yet in those final days, he was completely alone. Medical experts say that Hackman likely didn't eat for days. His autopsy showed no signs of recent meals, though he was not dehydrated. Without someone guiding him, he would have struggled with even the most basic routines: eating, sleeping, calling for help. Advanced Alzheimer's robs individuals of their ability to act on their emotions. Hackman may have felt fear, sadness, or worry, but he no longer had the ability to recognize what those emotions meant or what to do about them. Dr. Brendan Kelly, a neurologist specializing in memory disorders, explained that patients in the later stages of Alzheimer's often feel a sense of unease but are unable to connect it to an action, such as calling for help or leaving the house. The fact that Hackman was unable to seek help adds another layer of tragedy. He likely had no concept of how much time had passed. Each time he saw his wife, it may have felt like the first time. And without the ability to recall previous actions, he may have continued to attempt waking her before wandering away, confused and helpless. One of the most haunting discoveries was the presence of their 3 dogs, one of which was found deceased in a crate. Experts believe Hackman's Alzheimer's had reached a point where even feeding his pets was beyond his capability. It paints a devastating picture of a man once known for his strength and presence, now lost in a world where even survival instincts had faded. By the time authorities arrived for a welfare check, it was too late. Hackman had passed away, likely succumbing to complications of cardiovascular disease, with his Alzheimer's serving as a contributing factor. The house, once a place of warmth and companionship, had become a silent witness to his final, tragic days. The case has ignited discussions about the harsh realities of Alzheimer's and the struggles caregivers face, particularly those who are aging alongside their loved ones. Dr. Laura Gitlin, a behavioral scientist, noted that as families shrink and communities become more disconnected, more people with Alzheimer's are left without the support they desperately need. In Hackman's case, his wife may have been his primary, and perhaps only, caretaker. With her sudden passing, he was left without guidance, completely vulnerable to his disease. Neighbors and fans alike have mourned not just Hackman's death, but the circumstances surrounding it. To think of such a legendary figure, who once commanded the screen with his powerful performances, spending his final days in confusion and loneliness is deeply heartbreaking. What unseen threat silently crept into Betsy's life, turning an ordinary day into a fatal tragedy she never saw coming? How Betsy Arakawa died. Betsy Arakawa, wife of legendary actor Gene Hackman, had always lived a private life away from Hollywood's chaos. But in the final days of her life, she unknowingly became a victim of a silent and deadly threat, one that few ever expect to encounter. She and Hackman had built a peaceful existence in their home, far removed from the limelight. Yet, the peace of their secluded residence was shattered by an invisible enemy, hantavirus. It started with what seemed like a mild illness. A slight fever, fatigue, some muscle aches, symptoms that could easily be dismissed as a seasonal flu or exhaustion. But within days, her condition worsened dramatically. Breathing became difficult. The simplest movements drained her energy. Unbeknownst to her, her body was already fighting a losing battle. Investigators quickly ruled out foul play. There were no signs of poisoning, no evidence of self-harm, and no history of immediate health conditions severe enough to cause such a sudden and unexplained death. It wasn't until a deeper medical investigation was conducted that the shocking cause was uncovered: hantavirus. Hantavirus is not a widely known disease, yet it carries a fatal reputation. Unlike common viral illnesses, it does not spread from person to person. Instead, it lurks in the droppings, urine, and saliva of rodents, waiting to be accidentally inhaled by unsuspecting individuals. When stirred up, perhaps while cleaning a storage area or sweeping dust, the virus can enter the lungs, setting off a deadly chain reaction. The symptoms start subtly, mimicking common illnesses: fatigue, fever, muscle aches, none of which seem life-threatening at first. But within days, it can escalate into hantavirus pulmonary syndrome (HPS), causing fluid to flood the lungs, making breathing nearly impossible. The mortality rate is staggering, with nearly 40% of those infected succumbing to the disease. New Mexico, with its vast open landscapes and rural settings, has seen cases before. But they are rare. Fewer than 1,000 cases have been reported in the United States since the virus was first identified in 1993. Yet, when it strikes, it does so with unforgiving force. Investigators pieced together what they could. Experts assessed the home for signs of rodent infestation, carefully inspecting storage areas, ventilation systems, and any hidden spaces where rodents might have left contaminated droppings. The main living areas were found to be clean and well-maintained. Yet potential sources of exposure remained, perhaps a garage, a basement, or an outdoor shed where rodents had gone unnoticed. A seemingly harmless act, like sweeping dust, opening an old box, or even gardening near an infested area, could have unknowingly released the virus into the air. The question remained: did Betsy realize she was in danger? Likely not. Hantavirus is extremely rare, and its early symptoms mimic those of common illnesses, such as the flu. At first, she may have dismissed her fatigue, muscle aches, or mild fever as nothing serious. By the time the illness advanced, causing severe respiratory distress, it was likely too late for intervention. With no vaccine or direct treatment for the virus, survival depends on early diagnosis, something that, in this tragic case, may not have been possible. Alone in the house, Betsy's condition deteriorated. Hantavirus works quickly once it takes hold, attacking the respiratory system with relentless intensity. She may have struggled to call for help or believed she would recover on her own. The isolation of their home, which once provided peace, now became an obstacle to receiving timely medical intervention. As the virus took its final toll, Betsy succumbed to the illness, unaware that she had fallen victim to one of nature's most elusive killers. In the days that followed, silence filled the home, broken only by the occasional movements of the surviving pets. Outside, the world continued as normal, oblivious to the tragedy that had unfolded behind closed doors. Medical experts worked swiftly to confirm the cause of death. Autopsy results pointed to severe respiratory failure, with further testing revealing hantavirus as the culprit. Health officials were notified, and an environmental assessment was conducted to prevent further risk to anyone entering the home. News of Betsy's passing shocked those who knew. her. She had lived a quiet, graceful life, far removed from the chaos of Hollywood. She was not the kind of person to make headlines, yet her death became a stark reminder of the hidden dangers that exist even in the most serene environments. The tragedy of Betsy Arakawa's death sheds light on a danger few consider. Hantavirus, though rare, is a lethal adversary. Prevention is key, sealing entry points to prevent rodents, using masks and gloves when cleaning storage areas, and avoiding sweeping up dust in spaces where rodents may have been present. Awareness can mean the difference between life and death. For those who admired her from afar, Betsy's passing is a solemn reminder that life's greatest threats are not always the ones we can see. Betsy Arakawa's tragic death shocked many, but the real intrigue lay in how Hollywood's biggest stars remembered Gene Hackman. What did legends like Al Pacino and Clint Eastwood say about his legacy? Tribute by fellow stars. Gene Hackman's passing has left an immeasurable void in Hollywood. As news of his death spread, an outpouring of tributes flooded in from fellow actors, directors, and admirers who had been touched by his extraordinary talent and unwavering dedication to his craft. His career, spanning over 5 decades, cemented him as one of the most versatile and respected actors of his generation. Now, as the industry mourns his loss, those who knew him best reflect on his legacy, recalling not just the performances that captivated audiences but also the man behind the roles. Al Pacino, who shared the screen with Hackman in The Scarecrow, spoke about the depth of his talent, calling him one of the finest actors he had ever worked with. Gene had this incredible ability to completely transform into a character. He never just played a role, he lived in it. There was an honesty to his performances that made everything he did unforgettable. Robert De Niro echoed that sentiment, reflecting on Hackman's ability to bring both intensity and vulnerability to his roles. Gene Hackman didn't act, he embodied. He could make you fear him, root for him, or even despise him, depending on the role. That's what made him great, his range, his commitment, and his ability to make every character feel real. Clint Eastwood, who directed Hackman in Unforgiven, spoke with admiration about their collaboration. Gene was one of the best I ever worked with. He never sought attention, never played the Hollywood game, but his work spoke louder than anything else. He had this quiet confidence, this ability to disappear into a role while still commanding every scene he was in. His performance in Unforgiven was nothing short of masterful, and I consider myself lucky to have had the chance to direct him. Tom Hanks, who grew up watching Hackman's films, described him as an actor who changed the landscape of storytelling. Some actors entertain, and some redefine the art. Gene Hackman did the latter. He made you believe in every word he spoke, every emotion he conveyed. His performances weren't just memorable, they were transformative. Leonardo DiCaprio, who worked alongside Hackman in The Quick and the Dead, recalled the immense presence he carried on set. Being around him was like being in the presence of history. The way he approached his craft, the way he made every moment on screen feel effortless, he was a true legend. Dustin Hoffman reflected on Hackman's humility, noting that despite his immense talent, he never carried himself like a Hollywood star. Gene was never about fame or attention. He was about the work. He was a kind man, a humble man, and he treated everyone, whether a co-star, a director, or a crew member, with the same level of respect. That's rare in this business. Other actors shared similar sentiments, remembering Hackman not just for his performances but for his kindness and generosity behind the scenes. Steven Spielberg paid tribute to Hackman's ability to create characters that lingered in the minds of audiences long after the credits rolled. Gene had a way of making every character unforgettable. Whether he was playing a hero, a villain, or something in between, he brought depth and nuance that elevated every film he was in. Martin Scorsese praised Hackman's commitment to authenticity. There was never a false note in his performances. He gave everything to his roles, never settling for anything less than the truth of the character. In spite of stepping away from acting nearly 2 decades ago, Hackman's influence on the industry remains undeniable. His portrayal of complex, deeply human characters set a standard that few could match. From the relentless Popeye Doyle in The French Connection to the conflicted sheriff in Unforgiven, his performances continue to inspire and captivate new generations of actors and film lovers alike. Even after his retirement, his films remained timeless, serving as a masterclass in storytelling and character depth. His absence will be deeply felt, not only in Hollywood but by moviegoers around the world, who were profoundly moved by his work. Many younger actors have credited Hackman as a source of inspiration, studying his performances to understand the craft of acting at its highest level. His ability to command the screen without excessive theatrics set him apart, proving that authenticity and dedication are the true marks of a great performer. Hackman legacy Gene Hackman's legacy is one of unparalleled excellence in film, defined by his ability to bring depth and authenticity to every role he played. Over the course of his decades-long career, he established himself as one of Hollywood's most respected actors, leaving behind a body of work that continues to inspire both audiences and aspiring performers. His influence extends far beyond the screen, shaping the way characters are portrayed and stories are told in cinema. What set Hackman apart was his versatility. He never allowed himself to be confined to a single type of role. Whether playing a hardened detective, a ruthless villain, or a conflicted authority figure, he always delivered performances that felt real and compelling. His portrayal of Popeye Doyle in The French Connection redefined the crime thriller genre, earning him an Academy Award and proving that flawed, relentless characters could carry a film. In Unforgiven, his chilling role as Little Bill Daggett added new layers to the Western genre, showing a lawman whose sense of justice blurred the line between hero and antagonist. Hackman's ability to embody complex characters with nuance made him a favorite among directors. Filmmakers valued his dedication to realism, his instinct for storytelling, and his willingness to disappear into a role. He never sought the spotlight outside of his work, preferring to let his performances speak for themselves. That commitment to authenticity is what made him stand out in an industry often dominated by spectacle. Gene Hackman's impact on cinema is evident in the countless actors who cite him as an inspiration. His ability to convey emotion with subtlety and command the screen without theatrics set a standard for great acting. Even after retiring, his legacy endured, with his films continuing to be celebrated by new generations. His characters remain unforgettable because they felt real, flawed, determined, and deeply human. Beyond acting, Hackman was known for his humility, avoiding fame and focusing on personal passions like writing and painting. His decision to leave Hollywood on his own terms further solidified the respect he earned. His timeless contributions to film and dedication to authenticity ensure his legacy will be remembered for generations. What are your thoughts on this incredible story? Share them in the comments below. If you found it interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, and explore more unbelievable stories. Thanks for watching.